Hello, everyone, and welcome back to class. So, at this point of the course, we are now entering the home stretch, and we are starting to come full circle and begin to revisit the material that we covered very early on in the first couple of weeks of the course. In the start of the course, we talked about Earth systems theory, where our planet is a dynamic one, and there's a variety of different systems that are all interacting. You have the hydrosphere, where our drinking water comes from. You have the atmosphere, where the air that we breathe can be found. The geosphere, where the rocks and mineral forming processes can be found. And then we, as humans, one of the many animals, but also the plants, can be found in this sphere. And so we need to be able to take the concepts we learned earlier in the course and then apply them to essentially the bigger picture. And we do that towards the tail end of this class by investigating concepts that deal with weather, climate, and also space, as space gives us a scale and the importance of our dynamic planet. Our first topic is going to be looking at climate. Conceptually, climate is actually long-term effects for a particular region. Conceptually, we evaluate a variety of different factors. And these factors or characteristics will help us determine if we have a hot climate that's going to be humid, like a tropical rainforest around the equator, or a very cold climate with high elevation, like a highland style climate. These are impacted by humans. Our climate is dramatically changing through the influence of global warming. And so we need to be able to take a look at the smaller subsystems found within the larger spheres. That will help us explain the changes that the humans have put onto these different climatic systems to dramatically change them. For an example, in this week's topic, we are going to look at temperature extremes in these climates. We are going to start off and take a look at the very cold and glaciers. Glaciers, as we learned earlier in the class, contain wonderful amounts of frozen water. If they are, say, in the pole, North and South Pole, it's frozen seawater. But if it's in the secluded mountains of high elevation, that water is generally going to be fresh. But what are the human impacts that drive the development of glaciers? Humans have changed the climate so much that glacier development is dramatically changing. We are essentially losing our glaciers. And so we need to establish the concept of what impacts humans have on the planet. And glaciers are found in the realm of what they call the cryosphere, which overlaps into both the atmosphere, geosphere, and the hydrosphere. And then once we finish up with the very cold, we're going to then move into the very hot and dry and take a look at deserts or arid climates where precipitation is extremely rare. And that wind is one of the major agents of erosion, transportation, and deposition in these environments. But there's also human element to this. Humans, we're always constantly expanding where we live and utilizing resources, but those resources allow for the transition of fresh, fertile soil into arid and loess and desert-like soils. Coupling that with the changing climate Our deserts are expanding and our glaciers are melting. And this proposes a very problematic view on the world. And we as humans, we need to be able to evaluate and explain these broader concepts on a conceptual level. Because this is our home. We only have one of it. And it's up to you to decide what we do with it. Once we complete taking a look at glaciers and arid climates, then we're going to investigate oceanography, weather patterns, and the atmosphere, and then venture into space to, again, be able to take a look and see where our pale blue dot resides in the grand scheme of our solar system and universe. If you have any questions about this week's material, please reach out during my open office hours, either in email, Zoom, or swing by in person and have a cup of coffee and we'll talk about the class. Thank you, and good luck on this week's assignments, where you're going to be investigating things like glacial movement, but also you are going to be able to start establishing and laying the groundwork between the difference between climate, weather, and human impacts.